Hey, what's going on? My name is TJ Jones, and welcome to another edition of the TJ Knows Wrestling Podcast, where we talk about some of the most popular topics in all of professional wrestling. And before I get started, I want to say thank you if you checked out the most recent episode or the recent podcast, me discussing Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble. I really do appreciate it. If you have not, the link will be in the description of this video. But we're going to go ahead and continue to talk about the fallout of the Royal Rumble. There were a lot of storylines coming out of the Royal Rumble, but one that has really been making its rounds, it involves Drew McIntyre. Now, Drew McIntyre was visibly upset after he was eliminated from the Royal Rumble. He goes to the back. There was some yelling, some cursing. It got to a point where they asked Drew McIntyre to leave. Drew was upset because he felt a wrestler was going into business for himself, which means that he was trying to get the attention on him. For those that may not understand that in wrestling terms, he was trying to take all the focus off the actual match and put more focus on himself. And it took maybe a few days. People have done videos about who he could possibly be mad at, because the story didn't come out with who he was upset with, but people started to investigate and they narrowed it down to LA Knight. You can see LA Knight. It seems like he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And it was supposed to set up a huge elimination for Drew McIntyre to further his storyline with Damian Priest. Damian Priest eliminates Drew McIntyre, but because LA Knight was, I guess, like in a fisticuffs with Logan Paul, it kind of took the attention away from Drew McIntyre's elimination, and Drew took exception to that. And look, I can understand, you want to be able to further storylines. I understand that this is your career that we're talking about, but I don't think it was that big of a deal. I think that LA Knight is over. He doesn't need to go out here and resort to that. He had a really good showing in the Royal Rumble. It wasn't, the best, but it wasn't the worst either. And I really just think that maybe Drew McIntyre was not just upset at LA Knight, so-called going into business for himself. I think he's more upset about his positioning at WrestleMania. You look at Drew McIntyre and you have to admit, Drew has been a talented wrestler throughout the years, has been a really good promo. He's very believable because of his size, the way that he moves around in the ring. But it was just something that was different this year, or last year rather, in 2024. Seems like he really started to embrace his character. I don't know if it had a lot to do with Vince McMahon not really writing for him anymore, not being a part of WWE, but you really seen Drew McIntyre incorporate some real life to actual, just professional wrestling, because he was using social media in order to further storylines. And then people were looking forward to hearing what he had to say when he get into arenas on Monday night. And, that led to a big time feud with CM Punk, some classic matches. So I can understand why Drew McIntyre would be upset that, he's not getting, a top name going into WrestleMania season. Like, no disrespect to Damian Priest. He has done some really good things. He's been a world champion. He's been a part of a really good faction, the Judgment Day. But it's just something that is missing from Damian Priest. I've watched his matches. They're not the best matches in the world, but they're not the worst. I like how he kind of reminds me of The Undertaker. Like, when The Undertaker was like in the mid 90s, the way that he flies around the ring, like even his mannerisms remind me of that. But I just think that people like him, but he is not as over. And if you think about it, this might be one of those situations that has gotten Drew McIntyre maybe mixed up into a even better WrestleMania card. Like, if the WWE actually takes advantage of him being upset and, the rumor mill going around him leaving the facility, if they actually lean into that and maybe have him have a match with LA Knight, I think that it might be a money match. Like I said, LA Knight is over. Drew McIntyre, if he goes out there and beats up on LA Knight, that would generate some heat, and you'll have yourself a classic babyface versus heel match at WrestleMania. And I think that maybe Drew McIntyre would be a little bit more happy about that. But I still feel like maybe you should have talked to Triple H, maybe, discuss that at a later date. I just think that maybe he was just a little bit upset at the fact that he knows that he's going into a WrestleMania match with Damian Priest, a guy that is, a fan favorite, but not exactly as over as some of these top babyface stars are. But I want to see what Drew McIntyre is going to do at WrestleMania. I'm pretty sure whoever he has a match with is going to be a good one. And I enjoy watching Drew McIntyre. Some people were saying that they feel like he was being a little bit of a diva. But when you look at the career of Drew McIntyre from the time when he first got to WWE, he was always kind of passive aggressive. I think that his second time around, he doesn't want to resemble anything like he was his first go around in WWE. And we know that in interviews, we've heard Drew McIntyre speak about being that locker room leader, stepping up, defending himself, defending others, standing up for what he feels is right, whether it involves his career or someone else's career. So I just think that this is a guy that understands his position, being a veteran, being a WWE guy, and he feels like he has some level of seniority that he can stand up and speak for himself. But I also think that there's a time and place for everything. And I don't think that was the right time. The match was still going on and it wasn't over with. So you never want to go into business for yourself, but Drew McIntyre has to understand that with his actions, people can maybe look at that as him going into business for himself. But I would love to hear from you. What do you think about Drew McIntyre's outburst? What do you think about the possible matchup between he and Damian Priest? Or do you think that this could be one of those situations where WWE just finds some gold by breaking the fourth wall? Comment down below, like and share this video. This has been TJ Knows Wrestling. I really do appreciate your time. And until next time, I'll see you down the road.